The silence of the Grandview Public Library after hours was a living thing. It wasn't an empty silence, but a dense, papery quiet, thick with the scent of old leather and settled dust. For Elara Vance, it was a symphony she conducted nightly, a ritual of precise order. Every book on the returns cart faced spine out. Every chair at the oak reading desks was tucked in at the exact same angle. It was a sanctuary of predictability, which was why the anomaly in the historical archives felt like a discordant note in her symphony. The archives were her domain, a climate-controlled vault of local history and rare books, closed to the public without an appointment. Yet, for the third time this week, the high-backed leather chair at the central research desk was pulled out a precise 2 inches. Not shoved back in a hurry, not left askew, but deliberately positioned, as if its occupant had merely stepped away for a moment. Elara's fingers, long and accustomed to the delicate handling of brittle pages, traced the smooth, cold wood of the chair back. Her heart thumped a slow, heavy rhythm against her ribs. Not again, she whispered, the words swallowed by the towering shelves of forgotten narratives. The first time, she'd dismissed it as a lapse in her own memory. The second, she'd suspected the evening cleaning crew, though they knew better than to touch anything in the archives. This was the third. This was a pattern. Her eyes, the color of twilight, scanned the desk. It was pristine, save for a single, heavy volume left squarely on the green blotter. The Grandview Gazette, a compiled history, 1970 to 1979. It wasn't one she had pulled. She opened the cover. The pages fell open to a specific, well-handled section. A grainy, black and white photograph of a lavish charity gala at the since-demolished Crestmore Hotel. The headline below it screamed, "Priceless Artemisia vanishes in daring heist." Quote, the Artemisia Gentileschi painting, The Penitent Magdalene, had been stolen 40 years ago. The case had grown cold. A local legend relegated to true crime podcasts and dusty newspaper files. And tucked into the crease of the binding was a slip of paper. It wasn't a bookmark. It was a note, written in a tight, elegant cursive with black ink. They looked for a forced entry, but never for a guest who never left. Asterisk. Elara's breath hitched. The note was cryptic, insane, and it was addressed to no one. Or was it? She felt a prickle on the back of her neck. The unsettling sensation of being part of a conversation she hadn't known was happening. She spent the next hour cross-referencing the book's location in the system. It hadn't been officially checked out in decades. The last borrower, according to the crumbling paper slip still tucked in the pocket at the back, was an Alistair Finch. In 1985, the record ended there. The digital age had never claimed this particular tome. The following night, the air in the archives felt different. Charged. Elara had completed her closing rounds with a nervous energy. Her usual meticulousness heightened to a fever pitch. She'd left everything exactly as her unseen visitor seemed to prefer. The chair was out. The Gazette volume was back on its shelf. She'd even left a different, but related, book on the desk, a catalog of the Crestmore Hotel's art collection. And she had brought a secret of her own. A small, wireless camera, no bigger than a coin, was now nestled amongst the carved leaves and acorns of the ceiling cornice. Its lens focused squarely on the research desk. The next morning, she rushed through her opening duties, her coffee going cold and forgotten. Locking herself in her small office, she pulled up the camera's feed on her laptop. The night vision footage was a study in monochrome green and black. For hours, nothing, just the still life of the silent archives. Then, at 1:17 a.m., a shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness between the shelves. Elara leaned in, her nose almost touching the screen. The figure was hooded, their face completely obscured. their movements fluid and utterly silent. They didn't fumble, didn't hesitate, they went straight to the desk, pulled out the chair exactly 2 inches, and sat. For the next 45 minutes, Elara watched, mesmerized. The borrower, the name solidified in her mind, worked with an efficiency that was almost supernatural. They pulled books from the shelves with unerring accuracy, cross-referencing passages from the hotel catalog with old city planning documents and a society scrapbook. They never read for long, only to find a specific piece of information, which they would then jot down on one of their small, white notes. They left 3 that night. Each was placed inside a different book before it was reshelved. When the figure finally rose, returning the chair to its designated position and melting back into the stacks, Elara felt a bizarre sense of loss. The performance was over. She hurried to the archives, her hands trembling as she located the books the camera had recorded the borrower using. In a volume of architectural blueprints for the Crestmore, she found the first note. The ballroom's northern wall was a lie. Asterisk. In a society scrapbook, tucked beside a photo of the hotel's founder, was the second. He built more than just a hotel. Asterisk. The third was inside a book on local flora. It was simpler, more direct, and it sent a fresh chill down her spine. Look to the wood, not the stone. Asterisk. Elara gathered the notes, her mind reeling. The clues were pieces of a puzzle, and the borrower was assembling it in front of her, using her library, using her as their workshop. They weren't vandalizing, they were researching, they were solving it. She returned to her office and pulled up the final moments of the footage. The borrower had paused before leaving, placing one last note squarely in the center of the desk. The camera angle was too high to read it. Elara's heart hammered against her sternum. She had to go back. The walk to the archives felt miles long. The grand, silent room seemed to watch her. And there, on the green blotter of the research desk, was the final note. She picked it up, the paper crisp between her fingers. The elegant script seemed to pulse with a final, terrifying truth. It read, "Thank you for your assistance, Elara. The answer was here all along." Asterisk.